In this discussion, The Future of Asia Through the Eyes of two of the region's most dynamic young leaders, we will hear from Hong Kong's Bonnie Chiu, founder and CEO of Lensational, and Kazakhstan's Iskander Akylbayev, executive director of the Kazakhstan Council in International Relations. Both are from the Asia 21 class of 2019. We are honored that moderating this conversation is our soon-to-be 8th Asia Society president and CEO, the Honorable Kevin Rudd. It will last for 15 minutes, immediately followed by a live and interactive virtual mingling session for all guests to cap off this private reception and virtual gala.
Well, greetings everybody. It's Kevin Rudd here, former Prime Minister of Australia and incoming President of the Asia Society in New York. More importantly, however, we're gathered today with Bonnie Chiu from Hong Kong, but also Iskander Akylbayev from Kazakhstan. So greetings to both of you. I've got a couple of questions for you guys because you're seriously smart, you're seriously intelligent, and you've got a seriously good sense of humor, I'm told. Good. And so question number one, this is to each of you. So Bonnie, you start off with the answer. You were both selected last year as Asia 21 honorees, who Asia Society recognizes the region's most promising and exceptional leaders of tomorrow. Well done, guys. Big tick for you. We are curious to hear, how do you both hope and envision Asia will look like by 2030? Bonnie, over to you first.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I think COVID actually has given us a glimpse of what 2030 Asia could look like. I think we see that Asia is really leading the way in how to handle responses in COVID. And I think it's that sense of collective responsibility, but also this really swift collaboration around the public and private sector in tackling COVID. And so looking forward to 2030, I think about the sustainable development goals that the planet will need to achieve by then. And hopefully Asia will be leading the way in sustainable development goals, in achieving them, and also improving that there could be a different kind of economic model where you balance human development and economic development, and hopefully also environmental sustainability. So yeah, I have huge hopes for what the continent can do and support the rest of the world in achieving that too.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if you look at the carbon neutrality commitments now by mid-century for Japan, Republic of Korea and China by 2060, the things are starting to look up in terms of sustainability. So fingers crossed, thank you for your leadership. Iskander, same question for you. How do you, as a young leader, look out to how Asia will be in the year 2030?
Well, thank you very much. Asia has entered into the new phase of its development, not only in terms of the economy, but also in terms of the politics, demography, social contract. The societies in Asia are changing, and it affects the global economy, the global politics and global affairs. So in this respect, we need to take into account the new reality, the new paradigm that is being shaped in the world. And for the international community, it's mostly important to find a new formula how to work with Asia, with Asian countries, and at the same time, it's very important for Asian countries to find the right way, a right vision, how to be sustainable in this fastly changing world. That is why I believe Asia has a lot of responsibility on its shoulders for the world. Asia is producing a lot of revenue. The economies are growing very fast. But at the same time, with this kind of great power comes greater responsibility, and the young generation in Asia has to step forward and produce kind of a new vision for the world.
Okay, well spoken, mate. You're right. As the center of gravity, the global economy moves decisively in the direction of, let's call it, the Pan-Asian continent, and so too comes responsibilities about how you deal peacefully with each other, and how you do peacefully and effectively with the rest of the world. Now, I've got a question in sequence now. First one to you, Bonnie. You are an award-winning social entrepreneur. Well done. And gender equality champion. Double well done. Your non-profit social enterprise, Lensational, has equipped marginalized women with photography training and digital storytelling in 23 countries across Asia and Africa. How would you describe the state of women's rights in Asia today? I don't want you to pull any punches. What is your vision or strategy on how to best challenge the status quo in so many of these places to achieve better gender equality for future generations? Bonnie.
Thank you. I always think for any country and any region, the strongest assets we've got are our people. And of course, women make up more than 50% of the population in Asia, and young people too. You know, Asia has the largest youth population in the world. But I think recognizing that actually some population groups are being held back by social norms, by practical barriers in achieving their fullest potential. And when it comes to women, I strongly believe that women have as strong a voice as men and other groups in actually uplifting society. And I think practically in Asia, we've seen literacy rates for women actually gone up in the past decades. Like just even in my own family in Hong Kong, we can forget that actually, you know, decades ago, we weren't a very prosperous society. And my grandmother was illiterate and well, still is illiterate. And my mother did better than her, but, you know, she had overcome certain barriers in her life, such as she had to fight for her right to educate herself. So I think moving forward, women's rights in Asia are moving in the right direction, but we need particularly men to come to support, to join the fight, you know, the he for she campaign, for example. So and recognizing the economic potential that women can bring and entrepreneurship potential that women can bring to the table. So I'm hopeful and hope we can accelerate that progress to really achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 5, gender equality by 2030.
Well done, Bonnie. You can sign up too for the He for She campaign here. Me, I'm number 1. And Iskander, he's number 2, though I haven't asked him yet. So, Iskander, you have some jobs to do in Kazakhstan. I know your country well. And looking at traditional China, there's been a lot to do there, as well as in Hong Kong. So thanks for your success and your determination. Now to Iskander, you are one of the future leaders in shaping Kazakhstan's foreign policy and international relations. What exciting developments can we expect for Kazakhstan and Central Asia in the decade to come? And what role will Central Asia play in the progress of the entire continent as a whole?
It's a very important time for Kazakhstan and Central Asia in general sense, because Kazakhstan has new administration. President Tokayev is doing his reforms on political sphere, in the economic sphere and social sphere, and the society is changing very fast. The social contract that was before is changing, and the dialogue between government and society on the rise. In this respect, we see a new signs of reforms, and the new initiatives are being discussed. So it's a very vibrant and active society these days. Speaking about Central Asia in general sense has changed, and the new generation has arisen. And in terms of demography, almost there are 70 million people living in the region. Most of the 30% of the population are young generation. So it requires a new change, and the values that were before are fading away. So in this respect, you need to address those demands. And the governments in Central Asia are looking at these changes and trying to meet those needs of society. And in terms of the new areas of development, I believe that it's not only traditional security areas that are very important for the Eurasian continent. Central Asia is becoming a more a kind of a financial hub. In Nur Sultan, in Kazakhstan, we are trying to build a new financial center in this respect and try to be a buckle along the Silk Road. So this is a very important connecting link between the big powers, between China and Europe, between Russia and other countries like India. So this is a very central point, and we would like to have more conversation with the leading authorities, with the leading countries, how to develop our social norms, how to develop our political system, how to develop our economic system. And I believe that we are able to conduct a successful story in Central Asia.
Well, I wish you well there. Nur Sultan, I've been there many times. I've been to Almaty once or twice. Huge country. For those not familiar with Kazakhstan, from east to west, it's wider than the country of Australia, of which I used to be Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. It's a big country with huge potential. So go well, my friend. Now, last question to both of you. What role should the United States and multilateral institutions like the Asia Society play in helping to bring about the positive changes you both see for the future? Bonnie, you start off, and then I'll conclude with Iskander.
Well, a central ingredient to the sustainable and prosperous development of Asia is peace. I think we touched upon that earlier. And I certainly am a big believer of multilateral collaboration. In my formative years, I was an intern at the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, which is a non-governmental observer of the APEC. And that it really gave me an insight into how trade collaboration actually helps, economic collaboration also helps other forms of collaboration. And I think we have been in some difficult years in the past few years in perhaps globalization or global collaboration, support for that being eroded. And hopefully in the future, and very importantly, Asia Society, even just meeting leaders like Iskander and other leaders in our cohort, we formed friendships and bonds, which meant that in the future, when we're leading certain positions in our country and in our respective fields, we are actually holding on to those friendships and building those links into the future, that we're finding global and regional solutions to global problems rather than each country, each field doing things on its own. So I think Asia Society needs to continue to show its leadership and nurture the next generation of leaders and really bring people from across the world together, particularly from Asia.
Now, over to you, Iskander, for the last word. What role should the US and multilateral institutions like Asia Society play to bring about positive change?
Well, the US has been the key country as a front runner of multilateralism for a long time. And I believe it's very important that we are able to develop the system and kind of deviate from multipolar to multilateral world, because multipolar has more geopolitical aspects, but when it comes to multilateral world, it speaks about connectivity, it speaks about interconnectivity in this respect. So I believe it's a very high time for a global power like US to move forward in terms of the multilateral framework and give a new impulse to this system, because in this really contested reality in geopolitical rivalry between great stakeholders, big powers, it's very important to understand that we're living in the same world. And Kazakhstan, who has suffered from this kind of Cold War mentality and Cold War politics, from my side, I believe it's very important that young generation or this generation shouldn't make mistakes of past. Mistakes of this kind of Cold War mentality, and that is why multilateralism and understanding the core values, why we're moving to more inclusive framework of cooperation, it gives a more positive vibe and hope and optimism that future will look better than the past.
Well, thank you. Thanks for our discussion. That brings our chat to a close. But to draw a few threads together, we've heard from Bonnie, her vision for a gender equality-based Asia for 2030. And so all power to your arm, Bonnie. Keep at it, be relentless, and don't take no for an answer. With Iskander, he spoke passionately about the reform program within his own country, which I'm familiar with. I've spent some time with your president, your new president, and I understand something of what he's seeking to achieve within the country, and more broadly in terms of deepening the opportunities for Pan-Asian engagement by Central Asia overall. And then we concluded on the future of multilateralism. And I think both were agreed that given Asia's rising stature in the world, because it will become the dominant economic power in the world, Pan-Asia, but it follows from that, as both of you said, with great power comes great responsibility. Well said, but responsibility executed through multilateral, not just multipolar means. Iskander, I'm sufficient of a student of international relations theory and practice myself to know what the difference between those two terms is. So well spotted, my friend. And lastly, Asia Society itself, providing a network for all of you to think, to get together, even have some fun, but most importantly, to dream about how we bring about a Pacific future, a peaceful future for us all, and a prosperous future for us all, and with respect for universal human rights for all as well. So thank you both. Good luck with your future leadership careers, and back to our host for this evening.